Yeah, we have the big energy weapons use energy. The smaller energy weapons don't, because it would be too much to keep track of for the player. But it's like the big artilleries and the big beam weapons and so forth need energy. Some of the units produce their own energy. You can see it by using the economic overlay, like the one I showed you earlier. And that creates a nice balance. It means that you can go in and around, maybe sneak in the back door of somebody's base, take out their fusion reactors, crippling them, so they have to remember to defend their base. They just can't build stuff and send it over. They've got to really think on multiple levels. I really like the economy in the game. It creates a backbone to the experience that is really critical, just like in real life. You know, we bomb shipyards, we bomb trains, we take out bridges, we do all of that stuff to take infrastructure out to hurt ultimately the guy on the front line who can't get a sandwich, which weakens them, and that's how you win a war. Strategy. In other words, strategy. Strategy, my friend. All right.
Speaking of balancing, how are you going about to balance?
Well, the balancing. There's multiple aspects to balancing. First of all, the game inherently becomes balanced because the Tech 1 units are very, very similar. Tech 2 is a little different. Tech 3, they start to diverge. By Tech 4, they're completely different. So the early game is much more balanced. But that's just the philosophical balance. Then there is the actual balancing process. The balancing process begins by taking a unit's capabilities, putting them in a spreadsheet, assigning values, saying, okay, this unit has 2 guns. Well, this one has 4. Must be twice as powerful. What's the turret traversal rate? Plug them in. How fast does this unit move? What's the armor rating? How fast can it turn around? For example, like the Monkey Lord is this gigantic, powerful spider bot, but it turns very slowly, which means you can maneuver around behind it and cut it out, take it down from behind. Then there's practice, which is we go into the game, we actually place hundreds of units in the game world against hundreds of other units as a baseline, and we have them attack. If the numbers don't match our theory, we adjust the values regardless until it matches the expected result, which is that 10 of these tanks should be able to take out 30 of these bots. If it doesn't, we just keep making those tanks more powerful until they do. And I mean, that's like a sound engineer could make the calculations in decibels on a piece of paper, but at the end of the day, put the headset on, adjust the volume in real time while the band is playing to get the right mix. It's a real time feedback that is what's important for us. And then of course there's the beta, which is the last stage, which regardless of our theory, if a guy in Utah is beating everyone with one strategy because of one unit, you change the unit. You just can't ignore real data. Consistent data over hundreds of games with especially hundreds of people. Consistently giving you a result. No, that was very important. I'm glad you asked that. That is a subtlety that no one has ever asked me about before. You will find that the Tech 3 factories, if you tell them to build a Tech 1 unit like a bot, it will turn those units out by the just boom, 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 one after the other, which you could wake up one point in the game and go, you know what, I'm just going to build a ton of Tech 1 bots and overwhelm, because now powerful Tech 3 defensive guns are killing Tech 1 units. Now, you can imagine what that means, right? You got a unit with a health of 10, let's say, getting hit with a weapon that does a health of 300. So you're losing 290 damage taking out one unit, which is incredibly ineffective for the defender. So now what do? You mix Tech 1 units in alongside Tech 3 units. And now you attack your opponent. And now those guns are firing indiscriminately. And you're now exposed to weakness in your opponent's defenses. Okay? Very important role early on. Or mid and late game, sorry. Early on and mid. Yeah, there's 2 forms of movement. One is a formation move. So if I grab a whole bunch of random units of all different speeds and I right click and hold, they'll move together as a formation. And I can do that. And I can also use the control key in case I don't want to hold. I can just go select, control, click. They're all going to form up and move as a group. If I just right click with no modifier and not holding, they'll all go as fast as they want. So you'll see them separate out. You'll see the fast units move to the front, get chewed up, and the big heavy slow units, the big siege bots will trail. So sometimes you want that effect. A lot of times I like the units to move in a line towards my opponent, where all the guns don't know what to kill, and then my guns are all coming to bear at the same time. That's a really important effect. If you have the most incredible army and you grab them and a factory is producing them one after another and you feed them along in a string, which I've done, they just get killed off one at a time, one at a time. You bunch them all up, put them in formation, attack, completely different result. And we test all of our units against that formation scenario. In fact, we found formations to be so devastating that the results were profound. The difference between a formation attack and a non-formation attack, which was the difference between a player who gets it and a player who just doesn't get it, separates people like you wouldn't believe, which is what we want. We want the good players to rise to the top. See, a goal of Supreme Commander is not to homogenize all the players, not to turn them all into the same, so whoever can click a certain sequence the fastest is the winner. That is not the idea. The idea is the true strategic player, the true thinker, will come out on top every time. Yeah, physics play an incredible role. This is a full-on physical simulation. This is a physical simulation of all the weapon systems, which means when a weapon fires, because it sees a target and it tries to lead the target based on a straight line prediction system, current, direction, and heading and velocity, and it fires its cannon, the shell goes through the air and could miss by a mile because the unit's trying to go a different direction. You try to fire off a battleship, the battleship is moving, the target on the ground is moving. Battleships don't like taking out mobile land units. Battleships like taking out static base defenses, anything still. So you really want to move your battleship or your water-based mobile gun platform into position, static, fire, because you've got some error term, and we design and roll into every weapon an error term, a naming error term, or a variation, because in real life when that shell leaves the end of the cannon, right, there's a chance over miles that it will land, in the further it is, like a Maver, which is the strategic nuclear cannon. I mean, that gun is amazing. It'll put a shell across the largest theater of war, across the biggest map. But hitting something? That's a whole different story. But if that gun hit it right on the head, it wouldn't be any fun, because it would be like, okay, that's just, what's the point, right? So we take all of that into consideration. I don't know if I remember what your question was specifically. Weapon physics, physical simulation, yeah. And we model all of that the best we can to create the most exciting and really emergent behavior is the product of a well-designed physical simulation, in short.